I want to start today by talking about qualitative research questions and how you write them. Qualitative research questions are the starting point for a project once you've figured out what your sensitizing concept is, to actually articulate how it is you're going to go about studying this topic. And because we begin with sensitizing concepts, your research questions really want to begin with one concept or phenomenon. So you don't want to make these questions complicated. Keep it simple and know that as you're doing your research, you may find that other concepts or factors emerge as important. You'll deal with that in the process of research rather than on the front end when you're planning. The second, qualitative research questions tend to begin with what or how. What questions lead you to understanding or exploring a topic, so trying to get at it with depth and nuance. How questions lead you to try to understand process, so how something came about. I do want you to avoid why questions, because why questions imply causation, and that's something that qualitative research isn't really great at dealing with. We'll talk a little bit more about causation when we get to quantitative research. Qualitative research questions also use exploratory verbs, so things like to discover, to explore, seek to understand, describe the experiences of, report the stories of. All right, so they're trying to get at an exploration of a topic, again with depth and nuance. Qualitative research questions need to avoid causal verbs. So cause, affect, influence, impact, determine, relate. These are things that, again, qualitative research isn't that great at dealing with, and we'll revisit when we get to quantitative research. Qualitative research questions are broad and open-ended. The idea is that the researcher is starting at one point and going to see how things evolve when they're in the field. So you want to make sure you're not using questions that have like yes, no answers, right? There should be lots of possible answers. Additionally, I am going to ask you when writing research questions to focus on a particular group or a setting. So who is it that you want to study, or where do you want to do your study? This is not articulated in your textbook, but I think it's really important, especially in the early stages, for helping you imagine how to focus your study. And you should expect the question to change during the study. So it is not unusual for you to start with one really broad place and end up in another section that's a little more focused. So when I did my dissertation work, I studied drug courts, and I wanted to know how decisions were made in general. While I was in the field, it became clear that the judge was very important. So then my question became more focused. How do judges make decisions in drug court? So it is possible that a research question that is very broad will actually become more focused over time in qualitative research. So here's a slide putting everything together. Begin with a single concept or phenomenon, so keep it simple. Start with words like what and how, never why. Use exploratory verbs. Keep it open-ended. Focus on a particular group or setting, and expect the question to change.